Andrew has requested me on Patreon to review the Disney animated movie Home on the Range. This was at one point going to be the final hand-drawn animated film from Walt Disney Animation Studios, which is actually the reason I went to see it in theaters. I thought since this will be the end of an era, I should probably go and support it. Thankfully, it wasn't, although it's now been 14 years since Disney Animation has produced a hand-drawn film. To put that in perspective, only 5 years separate the releases of Home on the Range and The Princess and the Frog. Anyway, this movie tends to be regarded as one of the studio's weakest films, with many even considering it the worst. I don't think it's the worst, as there are some positives, but I don't think it's particularly good either. I see what the filmmakers were going for here, as it feels like a throwback to the animated shorts Disney produced in the 40s and 50s. The obvious influence here is the Pecos Bill segment from Melody Time with its western setting. The character designs and backgrounds have a charm to them that also recall those classic shorts. Meanwhile, a lot of the dialogue exchanges, particularly between the animals, seem to be going for something akin to Wolfgang Reitman's Disney movies, like Robin Hood, The Aristocats, and The Jungle Book. His films had a certain casualness to the conversations, and Home on the Range appears to be going for a similar feel. Even the character animation at times reminds me of that Xerox era of Disney animation, and I could easily imagine Milt Kahl animating some of them, especially the people. Unfortunately, a lot of these characters don't leave much of an impression, and most of the humor falls short. The comedy is definitely going for something zany, but the jokes tend to just be loud and at times grating. A large reason for that is the lead protagonist, Maggie the cow. I find her obnoxious, and it's difficult to endear to her. She also experiences very little character development. At the beginning of the movie, she's loud and forceful, but has a big heart. And at the end of the movie, she's the exact same. The second most annoying character in the movie is Buck the horse, whose personality grates whenever he's on screen. The other animals don't register much either, including the other two cows who go with Maggie to save the farm. Some of the humor tends to be irreverent, reflective of that post-Shrek period of animated movie comedy, but those jokes falter too. One of the first lines is Maggie mentioning her udders by telling the audience, yeah, they're real, quit staring. By the way, that line is why Home on the Range was given a PG rating by the MPA, one of the most baffling decisions made by them, which I've talked about before. There's also a part where Maggie refers to Buck as Stallion of the Cimarron. Get it? Like the DreamWorks movie. See, we can make fun of you too. These jokes are trying, boy are they trying, but they just don't land. However, there are a few exceptions. Easily the funniest moments are the interactions between the cattle rustler Alameda Slim and his trio of henchmen. One of the silliest, more inspired bits in the movie is Slim failing to spot the farm because of his henchmen always blocking it when he sits in front of the map. It's such a clever visual gag and the kind of humor I wish the rest of the movie had. There's also humorous Perry the Platypus-style running joke where the henchmen don't recognize Slim when he's in disguise. He's quite a diabolical villain, who has planned to steal the cows, thus hurting a ranch or farm's profits, and then buying them in auction. His animation is also great, courtesy of the late Dale Bear, who also animated Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove. Another positive I'll give Home on the Range is the soundtrack, which I think is pretty great. Alan Menken and Glenn Slater provided a number of memorable and catchy songs that fit well with the characters and setting. They already start things off with a bang with the opening title song, which would fit right at home with other classic Western movie songs. The villain's yodeling number is another highlight. I love that it starts off like a traditional Disney villain song, and then immediately turns into something delightfully silly when Slim's yodeling talent is revealed. The visuals add a lot of spark to the song too. Meanwhile, Little Patch of Heaven serves as a nice introduction to the farm animals, and Will the Sun Ever Shine Again reflects the sad feelings felt by the characters at that point in the story. Menken and Slater wrote that song to reflect how they felt after the September 11th attacks, and knowing that adds a further emotional layer to it. Menken's orchestral score is also deserving of praise, capturing that Western sound perfectly. You can tell whenever you watch a Western how excited the composer is to write music for them, and even though Home on the Range is a silly movie about talking cows, Menken still made sure it was something worthy of the genre. Those moments of inspiration are why, while I do have a lot of the same criticisms of Home on the Range as other people, I don't think it's a bad film. A lot of the humor and characters are just not to my taste. This was also a movie that went through a lot of iterations before getting to its final form, with the finished film being nothing like the original pitch, aside from having a Western setting and cows being involved in the plot. Of course, every animated movie goes through a lot of changes, but this was one of those cases where even the basic concept was radically different from the initial treatment to what ended up on screen. It even went through changes late in production, as Maggie went from already living on the farm to becoming a newly arrived outsider, and the farm owner changed from a young woman, voiced by Sarah Jessica Parker, to someone more elderly. It just feels like the film ultimately got watered down during its making. Anyway, if you've seen Home on the Range, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for the request, Andrew.